So I will just go a little bit back. So as Jeff said, this was built using Unity 3D, so it's quite close to WebGL, but not exactly WebGL. So it's based on the same OpenGL technology. So Unity 3D is a game engine, and typically a game engine is created by a series of artists that build the level. Like if you say you play Grand Theft Auto, you have this like huge city of, let's say it's almost Los Angeles, and you can wander around. But this city has been created in 3D Max or whatever other software that 3D artists use, and just put inside the game, and it's always the same. It's the same city created. Now this is a little bit different because what we're getting into the app from the backend from the OpenStreetMaps is not a 3D world. It's merely a map, and the map that consists of points that define streets. Which a street is just a path from point A to point B, B to C, and so on, and the length and the amount of curves that the street takes. And the building outlines that Jeff created are also just polygons. They say like this is a building, and they define several points where the building is. So this is 2D and flat, and to create this world out of it, the code in the application runs through all these lines. Whether it's a building, it will extrude it. If it's a street, it will draw it on the floor. So it's all generated in real time. There is no 3D modeling involved in the whole city, except for those decorations like the trees, the birds, and the star, and the sometimes appearing giant guy walking around. These are more traditional 3D models that have been put in there, but the place where they are located is also picked based on the maps and with a little bit of randomness as far as I remember how we did that. So the whole city is generated on the fly, kind of. It's like every frame as it is rendered, there is like the city is generated. So that's what we said. If we had good data for other cities, like anywhere in the world really, and we feed the data to this application, it would generate any other city. You pretty much could do anything. If it was based on a GPS, you could go anywhere in the world and you would get the city where you're in, and you could walk around. The only problem is the lack of good building outlines for most of the places. I think New York is pretty well covered, but for example, Santa Monica, there was like just a couple of buildings, so you would have to I think that there is still a lot of buildings that need to be traced. It's a community effort. Actually, anybody can go to the OpenStreetMaps and add those things. What else? This was all prepared to work on a small device like the iPhone. So the graphics capabilities of the iPhone are, of course, not as good as of modern computer. But I must say I didn't have much experience with building for iPhone. It still can handle way more than I expected. Like this world is simple, but it's still fairly complex. It has a lot of details. The buildings there are in the hundreds. There are streets. There is the whole floor system where we map the other people's paths that are represented by these small dots, and this is all entirely rendered in real time. So, and it works at a pretty good frame rate on the iPhone. So that was a pretty surprising and pretty good turnout here. That it just allowed us to render everything we wanted this way. Now, as we said, from the brain wave data, the data is sent to the music to the audio system that creates based on Gary samples, creates all the sound, and as a second level, we get this sound data in form of a waveform and apply it to the buildings and some other elements in the world, so they react to the music. So you can see actually it will be coming soon. The video is looked. So you can see if you look at the building and you're close to it, it will start to wave, and the waving motion is in the same rhythm as the music that's being generated. So the world is kind of reactive in the second degree to your brain activities. It goes through the music system and then to the world.
Actually, most of the world elements, like the spiky orbs, the orbs on the ground, the trees, everything is reacting to music in the whole world. So,
yes.
That that part was like one of the also the challenges. Like Bartek was saying, doing the Unity app on an iPhone was new for us to figure out like what an iPhone could handle in terms of graphics. And so like Mal was working on design in Barcelona while Bartek is working on programming it in Santa Monica. And like we were all just all over the place trying. Like, we were in 5 different cities, and none of us were in the same place except for Jeff and Gary in New York.
He's at the bottom, I'm at the top. So we might as well be.
That's actually the further.
Yeah, he's in Harlem, he's in Brooklyn, but like Mao worked on the design for a while and did all these different really cool like 3D elements, but we're trying to figure out with Bartek at the same time like what's going to be possible for like real-time graphics and like to throw stuff on an iPhone and for it to actually function like as a generative world, because we really didn't want to lose that that feeling of like you're composing and controlling the world like now. Like we didn't want to just throw shit in there that just looks cool, because we could have populated this world with tons of stuff. Like Mao made tons of really cool designs of like super weird stuff that only someone in Barcelona could think of, like flying breasts and stuff, and like weird, and like, oh yeah, crazy. Well, I'll let him talk about some of the more weird stuff that he made, but we couldn't fit everything into the app, so we had to become like kind of focused on like how many elements were we going to throw in without killing the performance.
As a sign of these limitations, at some moment in the app we discovered that, well, obviously, but we didn't think of it. I guess before, people will be inside buildings as well as outside. Now, those buildings do not have any inside. So the first question was, what do we do? Because the way it worked back then, in the moment when we were building this up, is that you could just go through the walls. But if it happens in a video game, you feel like the game is broken. So we felt the same way here.
So does it lift up? Is that
Yes. So we obviously could not do interiors of the buildings because that would be way too complex. So what we figured out is that when you are close to a building, it will just lift up, and because the world is not doesn't have to obey the actual physical laws. So we were like, it's okay.
Well, when we first approached this project, we just wanted to build this city. But we really wanted to give like this weird twist to all the things that were happening. So that's one of the reasons why the buildings just go up, just to make all the experience a bit weird, not just a normal city where you just walk through. So when we started thinking about populating the city, we were really worried about doing all these weird things going on. So we designed these characters that actually they're not here, just because they had many polygons going on, so the iPhone couldn't really work properly. So that was a bit of limitation, but right now it felt like it was just 3 things going on. There was a nonsense completely on the city. So I think right now it's the only weirdest thing is the giant robot that you normally find around with George's monitor's face. So if you're lucky, you will find it out somewhere.
Giant what?
Giant and Georgia Moroder, you know, this mustache guy with. So it's in the app. So like a little bit of twist to this. Let's get into it.
I see a lot of you looking at your phones right now, so unfortunately the GPS doesn't work that well in the basement of buildings, but as soon as you go outside, you'll see stuff start to line up, and you'll see the building correspond to the building they're actually in front of you in the streets. So I'll have a chance to do that. You have a question?
Yeah, like just now I just like went, I guess like just through all the buildings and then just like north. Like, just like keep going north, like what happens?
Joystick mode.
You're using joystick mode?
Yeah.
Like you're walking?
Yeah,
So,
so, like what is,
well, for the
just
purpose,
go forever here?
for the purpose of the festival, we mapped out a 2-mile square area that we traced all the buildings for. So you could keep walking, you just wouldn't see any buildings after a while.
Yeah, I mean there's like nothing, it just like,
You should see streets, maybe.
Yeah, there's like lines. But
Yeah, those are the streets.
Nothing
So
else.
You'll see streets, you could walk across the Atlantic Ocean and start seeing,
Spain.
the streets of Europe, but it would take you probably many days.
Yeah.
So as I'm walking through, like, if I'm not on a street, all of my like brain activity is like at 0%. Is that
Is your headset on?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's on now.
No, it's not.
Is there a blue light on the?
Your headset's
Next
not
to
on.
it.
So you're
It's on
in
now.
you're in listening